Let's get started with our first news. JDM has finally broken his silence on the loss, and the MMA world has been waiting for this moment. After losing the welterweight title to Islam at UFC 322, the silence around JDM created a wave of speculation, doubt, and questions about where his mindset truly was. Today, he ended all of that with a powerful message on Instagram. In the caption of his post, he wrote, "Thanks to those always supporting her. Islam is one of the greats and deserve to win. I will learn and come back stronger." Those words hit differently, not because they're emotional, but because they're honest, direct, and exactly what fans needed to hear. For weeks, discussions around his performance focused on whether the pressure got to him, whether the moment was too big, or whether Islam's championship experience simply overwhelmed him. But JDM's response shows something far more important: accountability. He's not running from the loss, he's not blaming anything, and he's not making excuses. He's acknowledging greatness, accepting responsibility, and promising evolution. That mindset alone is what separates good fighters from future champions. The MMA community reacted quickly. Fans flooded his comments, praising the humility and the warrior spirit. Analysts highlighted how saying less and letting your work speak louder is sometimes the strongest move a fighter can make. Even fighters like Khamzat, Merab, and Barallo have previously shown respect for JDM's calm, calculated approach to both victory and defeat. Now, with this message, he reinforces the idea that setbacks are not the end. They're the beginning of something bigger. What makes this moment even more impactful is the timing. UFC 322 was one of the biggest cards of the year, and the spotlight on JDM was massive. Losing under that kind of pressure could break many fighters emotionally. Instead, he chose to rise. He chose to communicate strength, gratitude, and determination. And if history has shown us anything, it's that fighters who react to losses with this level of maturity often return as absolute beasts. As the division continues to move, with names like Duplessis, Arman, RDR, and Ilia all making their own waves, JDM's comeback arc is now officially in motion. Fans are ready. His team is ready, and today's message proves that he is more ready than ever. Move on to another news. Kamaru Usman has weighed in on Dana White's recent story about Francis Ngannou, and let's just say he's not fully convinced everything happened the way Dana described it. Earlier this week, Dana appeared on the Flagrant podcast and shared two alleged physical altercations he claimed to have had with Francis back when Francis was still in the UFC. According to Dana, the first incident took place before Francis fought Stipe Miocic for the first time. Dana said Francis grabbed him by the shirt and demanded a private plane back to Paris after the fight, and then Francis went on to lose to Stipe. The second alleged confrontation happened later on when Francis was frustrated about not receiving a $50,000 bonus. Dana said that when he tried to leave his office, Francis grabbed his shirt again, and he responded by saying, "Get your hands off me." Dana also claimed that Hunter Campbell had a similar run-in with Francis. Kamaru Usman isn't outright calling Dana a liar. He made that very clear, but he is saying that the story is hard to believe exactly as told. During a discussion on this topic, Usman explained that he wasn't present for any of these moments, but the mental picture Dana's story creates doesn't quite line up with how he sees both men. He said, "Listen, I wasn't there, but I don't think this happened like this. I don't think there's," before getting interrupted with a joke asking if he was calling Dana a liar. Usman responded instantly, "Did I say that? No, absolutely not." He emphasized that he's simply saying the situation is hard to visualize in the way Dana narrated it. Usman went on to break down why. Francis has a powerful aura, the kind that makes everyone around him stay sharp, respectful, and on their P's and Q's. He's intimidating, he's intense, and he's a fighter through and through. But as Usman explained, Dana White also carries his own aura. Dana is the head of the UFC, the man in charge, a figure everyone approaches with a different kind of awareness. In Usman's words, people move around Dana with a sense of, "I got to conduct myself accordingly." So imagining Francis grabbing Dana by the shirt multiple times, telling him what to do, demanding bonuses, and stopping him from leaving his office seems hard to believe in the exact dramatic fashion described. Usman made sure to clarify that he's not saying Dana's story is false. He's simply suggesting that it may not have unfolded in the intense, confrontation-heavy way that Dana's quotes made people imagine. For Usman, the truth is likely somewhere in the middle, without the level of physical tension the retelling implied. Move on to another news. Colby Covington has stirred things up again, this time by suggesting that Leon Edwards should retire after his recent loss to Carlos Prates. Speaking with Helen Yee, Covington didn't hold back at all. He said, "I think he should probably retire. I think he lost the hunger. I made him so much money when we fought. I just don't think he has that hunger and the spark anymore. I'd like to see him hang it up and do something else." And coming from Covington, a fighter who thrives on controversy and pressure, those words were delivered with complete confidence. Covington has always taken pride in pushing narratives, but this time, he framed Leon's situation as more than just a loss. According to him, Leon looks like someone who no longer has the fire that once defined his run to the welterweight title. Covington claimed that when they fought, he elevated Leon financially and competitively, giving him the biggest payday of his career. To Covington, that moment was a turning point where Leon achieved everything he wanted and simply stopped showing the same level of drive. Covington argued that without that burning desire, staying in the sport becomes dangerous, especially in a division full of killers like Khamzat, Merab, Arman, Duplessis, Ilia, RDR, and JDM. He continued by explaining that the sport is unforgiving when you're not fully invested, and he believes Leon's recent performance against Carlos Prates was proof of that. Covington pointed out that Leon didn't look like the sharp, focused champion who once defended his belt with icy precision. Instead, he felt Leon looked hesitant, slower, and less committed to the battle, as if he was going through the motions rather than fighting with purpose. For Covington, that's the clearest sign that it may be time to walk away. Of course, coming from Covington, these comments also serve another function. He knows how to keep himself in the headlines, how to get people reacting, and how to stay relevant even when he's not fighting. But regardless of his intentions, he insisted that his words came from a place of real assessment, claiming he's simply calling what he sees. He doubled down by adding that retirement isn't an insult, but a realistic option when a fighter has accomplished enough and no longer shows the same competitive fire. Covington wrapped up by saying that if Leon chooses to continue fighting, he wishes him well. But based on what he's seen, stepping away might be the smarter move. Move on to another news. Arman is already eyeing his next big moment, and this weekend at UFC Qatar could set the stage for something huge. Ilia will be in attendance as his brother Alexandre steps into the cage to face Bekzat Alikhan, and that immediately sparked the question. If Arman gets the finish against Dan Hooker, will he call out Ilia and push for an in-cage face-off? When asked directly about it, Arman didn't hesitate. He said, "Yes, I think I got to get the good finish and call him out and do the face-off there." It was calm, confident, and exactly the type of energy fans love when future champion versus champion matchups begin to take shape. With Ilia sitting cage-aside, the possibility of a dramatic, high-tension face-off becomes very real. The UFC loves those moments, the fans love those moments, and Arman clearly wants to capitalize on it. He knows that if he handles business against Dan Hooker in impressive fashion, a call-out backed by a dominant performance can shift the entire direction of the featherweight and lightweight storylines. Arman wants Ilia face-to-face, right there in the octagon, in front of the world, and he's ready to make it happen. Arman also took a moment to discuss Islam's recent victory over JDM, where Islam became the new welterweight champion. Arman praised the performance heavily, saying, "Yes, I was super impressed when I was watching the fight because it was so easy, kind of a champion fighting with an amateur. He showed he's on a different level. I thought JDM could do more than he did. Islam is way better than everybody right now." Those words carried weight because Arman is one of the few fighters who has actually shared the cage with Islam and pushed him to a razor-close fight. To hear him call Islam's win easy speaks volumes about how dominant Islam looked. Arman continued by saying that Islam truly is the pound-for-pound best at the moment, and at 170, it's only going to get harder for anyone to beat him. He believes Islam's skill set, fight IQ, and physical strength translate perfectly into welterweight, creating a champion who will be extremely difficult to dethrone. and with names like Kamzat, Marab, Duplessis, Berdiar, Boralho, Conor, Ilia, and JDM all active across divisions, Arman's praise makes Islam's rise even more significant. Now, all eyes turn to Arman versus Dan Hooker. If Arman delivers a big finish, the next face-off fans will be talking about might not be in a title fight. It might be Arman standing inches from Ilia, setting up one of the most anticipated clashes in the UFC. Move on to another news. Garry didn't hold back when discussing the welterweight division and the possibility of Kamaru Usman getting the next title shot. Garry is set to face Belal Muhammad this weekend at UFC Qatar, and he made it very clear that if he knocks out Belal, he believes he should be next in line for the championship. He also expressed skepticism about Islam choosing Usman as an opponent, claiming it's an easy matchup that Islam knows he can handle. Garry said, "Khabib and his team are very smart, and they are very intelligent at choosing fights and making interesting matchups. Kamaru Usman is irrelevant in the welterweight division right now. And I excuse my language, but it's the fact he's been, yes, at one point in time, he was arguably the greatest welterweight of all time. But he's not close now. And I think Khabib and the team in Russia, and that whole fight team, they know how to spin the wording to build a fight. But there's no interest. No fan wants to see that fight. They want to see him versus me. They want to see him versus Shavkat. They want to see Islam versus Pratis and Morales. They want to see the new generation of this welterweight division." Garry emphasized that with Usman pushing 40 years of age and ranked nearly 10 in the world, he is, in Garry's eyes, irrelevant. He believes Islam's choice is about padding his record and achieving his 17th consecutive win against an opponent who was once great, but now is just trying to maintain relevance. "I don't want to say anything disrespectful to Islam and his team, but I think it's a cop-out," Garry added. "The champion should face the #1 challenge, and Kamaru Usman is nowhere close to that right now." He continued by pointing out that the fans are looking for fresh, exciting matchups in the division, and seeing the new generation clash is far more compelling than revisiting a fighter whose best days are behind him. Garry's comments highlight a larger conversation in the welterweight landscape, where the focus is shifting toward fighters like himself, Shavkat, and other rising stars who are actively shaping the future of the division. By calling out the current system and questioning Usman's relevance, Garry positioned himself as a fighter hungry for the next big opportunity. He's ready to capitalize on momentum, deliver impressive performances, and make sure the championship spotlight is directed toward the fighters who deserve it most. His message is loud, clear, and unapologetic, and the UFC world is listening. Move on to another news. Belal Muhammad is fired up ahead of his fight with Garry this weekend, and he made it very clear that he hates everything about him. Belal isn't holding anything back. He's focused, motivated, and ready to make a statement. He said, "Especially with his stupid accent, his stupid voice, I just hate everything about him, especially in a fight. It makes you more motivated." That level of intensity is something Belal thrives on, and it's the same fire that drove him to dominate Leon in the past. He explained, "The last person I was this motivated for was Leon, and we smashed them. So for me, it's to go out there and, like I said, put a stamp on it." Belal wants to finish Ian and make a bold statement that reminds the world exactly who he is. He referenced his recent training and the huge performances he's delivered, saying, "From last week's practice, I had a huge performance. Knockout. He lost to Ian, though. Shavkat had a close fight with Ian. I go out there, I finish Ian, I put a stamp on it, and I show the world, remind the world who I am." That personal drive is amplified by the motivation that comes from rivalry. Growing up in Chicago, Belal says he's had trash talk his whole life, and it's something that fuels him in the octagon. "I like it. I work better with it. I'd rather fight somebody that's gonna talk than somebody that's just quiet and nice. Like, all right, I gotta find something to hate. It's not hard to find something to hate. Ian, right? Everybody hates him, so it's easier to work with that." Belal's strategy is straightforward. Cut Ian off, find him, and never let him off the hook. He wants to make a statement with a bang, a performance that no one will forget. If I was able to wear running shoes, I would be able to wear running shoes to catch him. He runs a lot. For me, it's just cutting him off, finding him, and not letting him off the hook. It has to be with a bang. It has to be something that's gonna, like I said, I want them talking about me this whole month. Belal is focused on delivering the best welterweight performance of the month, and he's determined that his name will be at the top of the list. Every word, every movement, and every strategy he's putting into this fight is about making a lasting impression. He's not just fighting for a win, he's fighting to dominate, to prove himself, and to leave no doubt about his place in the welterweight division. The Octagon is his stage, and this weekend, Belal plans to own it. Move on to another news. Concerns are rising for Arman as he prepares for his fight against Dan Hooker this weekend. Hamza Chimaev flew out to Qatar specifically to support Arman, and multiple videos surfaced today showing Hamza assisting Arman with his weight cut. In one of the clips, someone mentioned that Arman still weighs 159 pounds, which immediately caught the attention of fans and analysts alike. The ceremonial weigh-in is scheduled to start at 10 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, which leaves Arman roughly 12 hours to hit the target weight. The situation sparked a mix of worry and speculation across social media. Fighters, coaches, and fans know that cutting those last few pounds in such a short time can be extremely challenging. While Arman has experience with weight cuts and has been professional about his preparations, 159 pounds is a significant number so close to the official weigh-in. Many fans are questioning whether the remaining hours will be enough for Arman to shed the final pounds safely, and whether this could affect his performance in the Octagon if the cut ends up being too intense. Hamza's presence has been reassuring to some, as he's known for his precision and discipline when it comes to supporting teammates and assisting with weight cuts. Videos show him actively monitoring Arman, helping him stay focused and making sure every step of the process is executed properly. This level of attention and care is critical, especially when the clock is ticking and pressure is mounting. Fans noted the intensity of the preparation, and many are confident that having someone like Hamza in Arman's corner will make a big difference. Still, the concern remains because the margin for error is so small. Missing weight can have major consequences, from fines to fight cancellations, and even if Arman hits the scale on time, the physical toll of a last-minute cut can impact stamina, strength, and mental sharpness. Analysts are keeping a close eye on any updates, and social media is buzzing with theories about whether this could be a dramatic weigh-in or a smooth process. For now, all eyes are on Arman as he continues his preparation, with fans hoping for a successful cut and a strong showing against Dan Hooker. The next 12 hours will be critical, and every detail counts. The combination of Arman's skill, experience, and Hamza's support could be the deciding factor in whether he makes weight without issue and enters the Octagon ready to perform at his absolute best.